Gamers, welcome to today's video where what we're going to be doing is doing some ethical dilemmas and seeing how ethical I am. This should be interesting. We're just going to pick one of these tests. I think we'll go with should you kill the fat man first? Okay, torture as a matter of principle is always morally wrong. I would say yes. The morality of an action is determined by whether, compared to other available options, it maximizes the sum total of happiness of all the people affected by it. It maximizes the total happiness. I don't think it does. I think sometimes morally stuff can be morally right, but people aren't happy about it. It is always and everywhere wrong to cause another person's death, assuming they wish to stay alive if this outcome is avoidable. I don't think you could say that it's always wrong to cause another person's death. Like, you know, like they should have killed Hitler, and they did, or didn't. I don't know. I'm not getting into the conspiracy theories right now, but and even in self-defense, if someone's trying to kill you, you would be saying it's also wrong to, instead of them killing you, you kill them, which then I think is wrong. So no. If you can save the lives of innocent people without reducing the sum total of human happiness and without putting your own life at risk, you are morally obliged to do so. I would say yes. Okay, good. That's the preliminary set of questions completed. You will now be presented with 4 different scenarios to test your moral intuitions against the answers you gave to the first 4 questions. The brakes of a train that Casey Jones is driving have failed. There are 5 people on the track ahead of the train. There is no way they can get off the track before the train hits them. The track has a siding leading off to the right, and Casey can hit a button to direct the train onto it. Unfortunately, there is one person stuck on the siding. Casey can turn the train, killing 1 person, or he can allow the train to continue onwards, killing 5 people. Should he turn the train, 1 dead, or should he allow it to keep going, 5 dead? I always find that like a really, really hard question. But I think like we're looking at this through the aspect of these are all, let's say they're all middle-aged people. They're all middle-aged people. They've all got their life ahead of them. What would you do? I would turn the train. Because it's like if you go like, there's 5, no offense to the old people out there, but there's 5 like 80-year-olds on the track. I'm not turning. If there's like a young fella on the other side. Because it's like, hey, you guys have had a pretty good run. You shouldn't have been on the train tracks. But I would say I would turn the train in this instance. With the information that I have, I think it's only right that I turn the train. Interesting. You do not believe there is any general moral requirements to maximize the happiness of the greatest number of people. Yet you think Casey Jones ought to divert the train. There's no contradiction here, but it would be interesting to know what thoughts motivated your decision. For now though, let's see what you make of the scenario below. Yeah, because I don't think that that's a contradiction with the information that I have of that scenario, because obviously if I'm in that actual scenario, I'm going to have different information in front of me, which would cause me to make different decisions. Marty Barkerman is on the footbridge above the train tracks. He can see the train approaching the bridge is out of control, and that it is going to hit 5 people who are stuck on the track just past the bridge. The only way to stop the train is to drop a heavy weight into its path. The only available heavy enough weight is a very fat man who is also watching the train from the footbridge. Marty can push the fat man onto the track into the path of the train, which will kill him but save 5 people already on the track. Or he can allow the train to continue on its way, which will mean that the 5 will die. Should he push the fat man onto the track or allow the train to continue? It's an interesting dilemma. To me, then, Marty is like actually committing murder at that point. Which, hey, I didn't say that was wrong, did I? In all instances. But is the fat man, you know, committing genocides and stuff like that? I don't think we can know that for certain. But I think at that point I wouldn't allow the train to continue, which I think it's going to tell me is a contradiction. But I don't think it is a contradiction with how I've explained it. I don't know. We're going to allow the train to continue. This time your response is consistent with your belief that morality is not just a matter of maximizing the happiness of the greatest number of people. Moreover, previous research has indicated that most people agree with you that the fat man should not be thrown off the bridge. Have a look at the scenario below. It'll be interesting to see whether you maintain your newfound consistency. So I feel like this thing is trying to catch me out. Okay, so the scenario is identical to the preceding scenario, but with one crucial difference. Marty Baker knows with absolute certainty that the fat man on the bridge is responsible for the failure the train's brakes. Upset by the train fare increases, he sabotaged the brakes with the intention of causing an accident. As before, the only way to stop the train and save the lives of 5 people already on the track is to push the fat saboteur off the bridge into the path of the train. Should Marty push the fat saboteur onto the track or allow the train to continue? Fuck. That's a lot harder. Because at that point, it's like he... Like, at that point, is that considered, like, self-defense? I know it's not technically self-defense, because he's not on the tracks and pulling the fat man onto the tracks to save him, having known that he caused this to happen. But, like, technically, this guy is just about to murder 5 people by doing what he just did. I think at that point you push him on, bro. At that point, you push him on. The only, like, struggle about that is, like, do we know with 100% certainty that this fat man is going to stop the train before it hits everyone else? But, like, this is information we don't have, so I just have to go with I would push the fat saboteur. It's going to tell me that I'm wrong. Many people will agree with you that that is right to throw the saboteur off the bridge in order to save the lives of the 5 people stuck on the track. It is also worth noting there is no contradiction between this view and your previous response that it would be wrong to throw an innocent fat man in front of the train. It seems likely that thoughts about culpability enter into moral calculus. To explain the difference here, it is possible the similar thoughts about culpability will be a part of how you think about the scenario below. Okay, the fat man, having avoided being thrown in front of the runaway train, has been arrested and is now in police custody. He states he has hidden a nuclear device in a major urban centre, which has been primed to explode in 24 hours' time. The following things are true. The bomb will explode in 24 hours' time. 2. It will kill 1 million people if it explodes. 3. If bomb disposal experts get to the bomb before it explodes, there's a chance it could be diffused. The fat man cannot be tricked into revealing the location of the bomb, nor is it possible to appeal to his better nature, nor is it possible to persuade him that he was wrong to plant the bomb in the first place. If the fat man is tortured, then it is estimated there is a 75% chance he will give up the bomb's location. If the fat man does not reveal the location, the bomb will explode and 1 million people will die. There is no other way of finding out where the bomb is located. Should the fat man be tortured in the hope that he will reveal the location of the nuclear device? Oh, it's catching me out here. It's catching me out because I said torture's never right, didn't I? But having, like, this information beforehand, in an actual situation, you would never know that there's a 75% chance that he'll tell you if you fucking torture him. But in this specific scenario, like, it's the only way. But We also have 24 hours, which is my big thing. Where did he say? He said, he's hidden a nuclear device in a major urban center. Like, I'd be guessing you're in a big city, let's say. So there will be multiple urban centers and all that. But with 24 hours, could you not evacuate the whole city? But I guess they're saying like it could be an urban center in another state or something that he's set up a week in advance knowing that he's going to do this. I think knowing that information that there's a 75% chance that he will give up the bomb's location being tortured, then you would, wouldn't you? To save 1 million people's lives, which is then me saying that the happiness of the many is more important than the happiness of the few. Which, like, I agree with. I don't know. I think I'm just going to have to go yes. Yes just seems like the right answer to me in that situation. Your response that the fat man should be tortured is in direct contradiction with your earlier claim that torture as a matter of principle is always wrong. However, it does make sense in terms of some of the other responses you have given. In particular, on at least one occasion you have responded that it would be right to end the life of one person to save lives of some other greater number of people. It would be strange then if you did not think it might be sometimes right to torture a person, if by doing so it might be possible to save all those people whose lives would otherwise be lost in a nuclear explosion. Perhaps you should revisit your blanket opposition to torture. Okay, that's fair. Let's do tit for tat. I don't know. This experiment presents 8 scenarios that escalate from a clear-cut case of self-defense to the most extreme forms of preventive violence. Each scenario asks whether striking first is morally permissible. Bill and Ben. Bill and Ben, 2 neighbors, live in a country where law and order has broken down. No police, no courts, no justice. Unfortunately, they don't get along. A dispute over a flower pot, which makes sense. And things have gotten out of hand. Bill has been told by an impeccable source that Ben is planning to attack him tomorrow morning. It seems there is no doubt as to what is afoot. To make matters worse, there is no escape and no way to ward off the attack once it's underway. Is it morally permissible for Bill to strike at Ben tonight to ensure his own survival? In this instance, I think it is. Because of the wording of this question, there is no doubt what is afoot. And there's no way to escape, and there's no way to ward off the attack once it's underway. I think it's permissible. I think that's easy. Okay, you believe it is morally permissible for Bill to strike first against Ben. This is the most common response. Most people accept that self-defense can include striking first when the threat is concrete, 100%, and imminent, and there is no institutional authority to which to appeal. The interesting question is how far the logic extends. Does the right to preempt survive when the threat becomes less concrete, less imminent, or less personal? Let's find out. The community is divided into 2 political factions, the fascists and the communists. The fascists not unreasonably believe that if communists are allowed to continue organizing, they will inevitably gain enough influence to begin targeting fascists for elimination. To prevent what they see as future catastrophe, the fascists launch a preventative physical attack on a communist meeting, correctly believing that disrupting it now has a good chance of preventing the communists from gaining the influence needed to carry out any policy of elimination. This is the thing, like, it sort of depends on who you ask. To them, obviously, they're going to say, yeah, this was a necessary thing. All they say is it's not unreasonable to believe that communists could be targeting fascists for elimination. But they don't know that. There's no concreteness to that. So until I think there's the essence of, like, a concrete, they will attack us. But that's not in every situation either. It was much easier when we were just talking about flower pot men. I'm just going to go not permissible, I think. Yeah, I denied morality when it's speculative. Yeah, which I think is fine. In a stable liberal democracy, a communist group holds a legal rally. They have no realistic chance of winning an election or changing laws, and calls for the elimination of conservative and far-right elements from society. A fascist counter-protester is present at the rally. No one there has threatened immediate violence, and the counter-protester is responding to rhetoric rather than an unfolding assault. Even so, the rhetoric is a structural threat to their community safety. The counter-protester physically attacks a communist marcher. Is a counter-protester's act morally permissible as an act of self-defense? No. No. If they're having a peaceful thing to say their part on something and you're attacking them just because you disagree, that's not permissible. Have a conversation. Have a debate. Figure some shit out. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just attack them because you disagree. That's not how life works. You are drawing a fairly clear line. Preempting is permissible against imminent concrete threats, but not against rhetorical ones. Even hateful rhetoric in a stable democracy with functioning institutions, you are not leaving it to the law. I'm confused by what they've written there. This is consistent with the classical distinction between preemptive violence, responding to an imminent attack, and preventive violence, acting against a speculative future danger. Okay, in scenario 3, you said attacking the communist marcher was not permissible. Does the same logic apply when a communist sees an assault coming and strikes to stop it? Communist marcher at the rally in the previous scenario sees a fascist counter-protester running towards him, brandishing a weapon. The target of this attack knows that attacking communists is widely viewed by some people as a legitimate act of self-defense. Fearing an imminent assault, the marcher strikes the would-be attacker first to incapacitate them. They've got a fucking weapon, bro. Running at people for ideas. I don't think it's wrong. I do not think it's wrong for them to take this person out. This is a principled combination. You denied the fascist counter-protesters' right to attack communist marcher. Since the group posed no imminent threat. But you do permit the communist marcher to defend against the counter-protester who was visibly about to attack them. Yeah. This maps onto classical self-defense doctrine. You may not initiate violence against people for their beliefs, but if someone is about to assault you, you may defend yourself regardless of your politics. 100 fucking %. It is 1944. Hitler's Germany and the Allies have signed a ceasefire. They are no longer actively at war, but no lasting peace has yet been secured, and negotiations are going badly. The Allies still hold 10,000 unarmed German POWs in custody on Allied territory. The Allies correctly believe that these soldiers would pose a real threat to Allied lives if the negotiations collapsed completely and the war resumed. To prevent that danger, they put in place a plan to execute the POWs if any breakdown occurs. Is such an execution morally permissible as an act of preventative self-defense? No. If I looked at it like this, right, you're the Allies, you've got German prisoners. Obviously, I'm not saying, like, let's give them back before we, like, literally have a contract on the table that says, we're all good, nothing's gonna fucking happen. You know what I mean? Why do you have to execute them if things go bad? Why can't you keep them as prisoners of war? That's what I don't really understand. You are holding a clear line. Preemption is permissible against imminent concrete threats, but executing unarmed prisoner on the basis of a future conditional danger crosses it. Peace negotiations are still ongoing, but German powers have discovered the Allied plan to execute them, and the ceasefire collapse and the war resumes. They are unarmed and still in custody on Allied territory. No execution order has yet been given, and no one is currently trying to kill them. Even so, correctly reasoning that the Allies now pose a serious threat to their lives, the powers stage a violent insurrection against their guards to prevent the feared future execution. That one's a lot more difficult because it's imminent, like it's possible, but it's also concrete at the same time, because with a certain set of scenarios happening, it could be concrete that they're going to do that. Obviously, it's just fucked up for them to do that. Is it morally permissible as an act of self-defense? But it's like there's potential, which then leads me to that same thing. There's still only potential that it could happen. So at that time, I don't think you're defending yourself. You are, yeah. No, I'm gonna go not permissible. That's the way I feel. You denied the right to strike first in both directions. The Allies may not kill unarmed prisoners on the basis of a conditional danger, and the powers may not stage a preventative insurrection before anyone is yet trying to execute them. Yes. Okay, the global security dilemma. It is 1948. A philosopher argues that history shows that armed races inevitably end war. That means if nuclear weapons begin to proliferate, a nuclear war and global annihilation are the inevitable consequence. On that basis, he proposes that Oceania, which currently has a nuclear monopoly, should launch a preventative strike against Eurasia to force him into global disarmament framework, thereby saving the future of humanity. Is this preventative nuclear strike morally permissible as an act of self-defense? No, it's not. I think that's the easiest one I've had so far. Why are you allowed to have nukes but other people? This is the biggest thing I disagree with this non-proliferation of nuclear weapons agreement, is pretty much we've said, oh, anyone who did it quick enough, you can keep them. So you guys can be the superpower of the world because you guys just have them anyway. Obviously, like, any country can leave that promise of non-proliferation. I think Israel and India never signed it, and they've got nuclear weapons now. But I think their morality is fine because they basically said, why, just because I've done it later, am I not allowed to have it, but those guys are? Just because they did it first. You know, it doesn't really make sense. So yeah, I don't think that's a permissible act to try and tell them that you can't have nukes, but we can. I have held a fairly clear line throughout. Preemption is permissible against imminent concrete threats, but the further threat moves for imminence and specificity, the less justifiable the violence becomes. Okay, in scenario 7 you said Oceania's preventative strike was not permissible. Does that same non-immediate logic apply when Eurasia sees Oceania's public preventative war doctrine as a future existential threat? Eurasia knows that influential figures in Oceania publicly advocated for a preventative nuclear strike against Eurasia as a legitimate way to avoid a future global catastrophe. No launch is currently underway, and Eurasia has not discovered an imminent strike order. Even so, correctly reasoning that Oceania's doctrine makes it a serious future existential threat, Eurasia strikes first, launching a conventional strike targeting Oceania's nuclear capabilities to prevent the feared attack. No, because there's no fucking concreteness to it. Like, come to the table. Let's have a discussion. To me, let's figure out how we can live together fucking peacefully. Denied the preventative strike in both directions. Oceania may not attack Eurasia, and same, they can't attack them. This is symmetrical refusal of preventative nuclear violence, and it avoids turning mutual fear into an all-purpose license for annihilation. Yeah, The imminence purist is what I am. Force is only justified when the threat is already concrete and imminent. 100%. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I think this has been a bit of an interesting one. If you guys enjoyed watching me go through moral dilemmas, make sure to hit that like button, that subscribe button, and maybe we can do this again sometime if you guys are interested. I don't know. This was just a random video I sort of thought of doing, and now I've done it. So, yeah. See you next time. Peace.